Hello, boys and girls. So, this episode of the podcast is brought to you by Harbor of Hope. Now, Harbor of Hope is a foster agency in the North Texas area that we have partnered with. We believe in their cause, they believe in ours. The executive director, Miss Jamie Steiner, has been amazing to us and the podcast. She's an amazing person, and she is on a mission. And the mission of her and the agency is to provide positive opportunities to all people it interacts with. Children should have the opportunity to heal and engage in meaningful activities within the community and their families. Harbor of Hope strives to make a safe environment for families and children, and will take advantage of positive opportunities to support permanency goals and the overall well-being of the agency's clients. Harbor of Hope provides child care services and treatment services to male and female children from birth through 17 and up to 22 if they meet certain eligibility requirements. It is the agency's goal that foster families create strong working relationships with all members of the treatment team. And with that mind, wow, I can speak today. That approach in mind, Harbor of Hope intends to create an environment for children that promotes healing and a healthy transition to permanency. Now, to find out more about Harbor of Hope, you can go to their website at theharborofhope.org, or you can go to streetwarriorradio.com/Harbor of Hope, and there you can find more about their mission statement, a link to the episode with Miss Jamie Steiner. And if you want to contact them directly, you can contact them during normal business hours, Monday through Friday, 8 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Standard Time, at the phone number of area code 817-304-8207. Also, this episode and all episodes are brought to you by Top Notch Tactics, a security consulting and physical security solutions company in Dallas, Texas. Top Notch Tactics has been the supplier of all of our audio equipment, and they're a great group of guys, LEO-owned, veteran-owned. And if you want more information about them, you can contact us at info@streetwarriorradio.com if you're in the Dallas area. And last but not least, or mostly least, actually, is Amazon Click-Through. That's right, the old Amazon Click-Through. You can go to streetwarriorradio.com on the left-hand side of the page. At the bottom, there's this little picture that says Amazon.com. You click on that, and it takes you to Amazon. It takes you to our storefront. You can do your normal Amazon shopping through there. Don't have to do anything. Just do what you normally do. Buy your stuff. And a portion, a small, little teensy, itty-bitty portion of those sales proceeds go back to the podcast as a thank you from Amazon for shuffling you to them through us. And that money is used for things like monthly website dues, podcast storage fees, if we need last minute equipment or whatever. None of that money goes into Big Bo and I's pocket. It's simply for the podcast. You can go to streetwarriorradio.com, left hand side of the page, at the bottom, amazon.com. This is episode 034 of the Street Warrior Radio podcast. I am your host, JC. Big Bo is out tonight, and we welcome back a very special guest, Scott Jedi Jedlinski, who you may remember from episode 10 or 11. I'm not sure. He was on one of those episodes. But anyway, he runs the Modern Samurai Project, and great guy, lots of knowledge, and we were excited to have him back. So, let's get to it. Jedi, what's up, man?
How you doing?
Doing all right?
Living the dream, brother.
Awesome. Glad to have you back on the show, man.
Yeah, glad to be here, man. Thanks for asking me back.
Yeah, absolutely. So we last had you on in March. What's changed? What's new with the Jedi?
Well, couple of things, I guess. Just booking more classes. Very blessed to have them being filled. Traveling all over the country, man. What else is going on? Kind of came up and published my own standards, which will lead to the black belt patch.
Nice.
Yeah. Other than that, man, just practicing, meeting good people, getting some more works. My classes are pretty much these days 50-50 LE and civilian.
Yeah.
Working with some departments and agencies now, which is very humbling. And, just trying to make the world a better place, I guess.
Right. How's the has the reception been among agencies when you're teaching agency classes? Obviously they're in conjunction with you to even put on the class, but what's the response been though as far as these the red dot sites?
Yeah, man, the reception's been really good. I think one of the things that again, this is just my perception, not a guy that does what you guys do and stuff, but some of the feedback that I get is that I teach, like the name of my class is Fundamentals in Performance, right? And I say straight off the back, this has nothing to do with tactics. This is core competencies that you can apply to whatever situation, scenario, application that you want, right?
Right.
And what some of the guys say, it's like, oh, dude, actually I enjoy that because, when you go to a tactical class, and I'm doing, the bunny ears right now, quotation marks.
Sure.
It's, the first hour and a half is about mindset.
Of course.
And nobody really ever clearly defines what the hell mindset is and how to work on it.
Well, mindset's so subjective to the individual too, and their perception.
Yeah, it's like follow through. Everybody includes follow throughs as part of the fundamentals, but nobody explains what the hell follow through.
Right. Yeah. Exactly.
Right. So they kind of enjoyed that. There's there's not tactics involved. I'm going to tell you how to find that dot and run that gun using the sighting system as efficiently and as quickly and as accurately as you can. And, at the end, everyone says, hey, man, this is a shooting class focused on red dots.
Right.
Yep. And everything you teach could be directly applicable to iron sights.
Oh, absolutely.
Yep. So that's basically that thing. Yeah, and I say 99.999%. I guess I have one guy goes like, yeah, man, you made me half a second faster and blah, 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 but I just ain't got the time, so I'm going to stick with my irons. I'm like, cool.
Now, speaking of that was kind of my next question was, is anyone that's been running irons for a long time step back? I mean, other than like, I guess what you're saying is only, a handful or so, but have you had any kickback on that, at least during the class, where it's like you get some old fart that's been doing it for a while and he's like, oh, this space age technology is not working out for me?
I've only had one guy, and he self-admitted that at the beginning of the class that he was having a very bad day, and that if he had to break away, this was at OTOA, right? Which is, for those that don't know, it's the Ohio Tactical Officer Association. Right. John Chapman, Jim Hartman, Dustin Maurer, they run an incredible event out there. I actually think it's the largest tactical officers event.
Next to the Texas one, yeah, I think it is.
Yeah, and I think they're neck and neck these days, right?
Yeah, I think the Ohio OTOA and the TTPOA, I think they're two of the biggest tactical police officer organizations in the country.
Yep. And not a self-congratulatory plug, but I'll be teaching at a TTPOA class and at TTPOA next year. So
nice.
Yeah. So, I just had one guy get a bad time. It's like, look, man, you know what? With your instruction and everything like that, it was great. I got better. I got faster. I'm probably just as fast as my irons, but I just don't have the time to invest in it right now.
Right.
Thanks. I'm like, cool, man. Cool. I go, but what I showed you would help you with your irons. She's like, absolutely. Yeah. Absolutely. You know, so that's been the overall reception. I think the guys that are even more invested into it are the ones where their agencies have said, guess what, guys, now you don't get a choice.
Right.
You're in it. You're in it to win it. Like, for example, like Pentagon ERT, right? Those guys got Glock 35s with RMRs on them. They didn't have a choice. Did a couple of classes for them, and dudes burned it down, man. They did good stuff, because you have to make that philosophical jump.
Right.
Right. If you were like my buddy Spencer Keepers, who has 2013 vision.
Yep.
Why should he make that philosophical jump? In a way, he shoots a red dot because his vision's so good. He's target focused, and just puts the front sight, aligned with the rear on it. He is shooting a red dot, but his vision's so good, there is no difference.
Sure,
if that makes sense.
Yeah, no, it does. So as far as concept, resistance to the concepts, right? You know, one guy, but have you found any where people have just like, been like, yeah, this is cool, but man, it's not cost effective for me to do this. Like, because for a lot of guys, especially that work at smaller agencies or whatever, that may not make the money. Yep. $700-800 for a red dot sight, that's a lot. Do you have anybody that gives you that argument?
There's LE discounts out there.
Oh, sure, but I mean, but anybody that has that argument, what would you say to them?
Well, so if they came up to me and they said it was purely financial,
right,
I would say, cool. Look, the red dot gods don't pay me,
right?
Yeah, right. It's just my particular path, my vision, what I've discovered, my practice and everything. For me, it is the superior, sighting system, right? I would argue, even if you have amazing vision, it is the superior sighting system. But like I said, I get my friends out there, like, again, Spencer Keepers, you have guys like Tim Herron, yada, yada, where their vision is so good, and they're so good with iron sights that if they would devote the hours to see an incremental difference, is the juice worth the squeeze? Probably not. Right. Yeah. But Father Time catches up with all of us, right?
For sure.
And eventually, everybody will come to the dark side.
Is there a challenge for people that are looking into that have like astigmatism?
So everybody has a different astigmatism.
Right.
I guess one of the things that I am fortunate is that I don't have that. I do have an astigmatism, but it's not one that makes a blur.
Yeah.
But I've heard everything. I've heard blurs. I've heard starbursts. I've heard half moons and things like that. What I would tell those people, and I can't see what they see, so I'm not, in no way am I trying to judge them and telling them just to get over it, right?
Right.
But the biggest thing with an astigmatism is that people hold the dot to a higher standard than their irons.
Correct.
Right?
Sure.
And they want to be snipers at 6 inches to 600 yards, right, with the dot.
Right.
And when I tell those people, look, man, the dot, right, is a serving spoon, not a scalpel. I stole that from Steve Anderson, by the way. He's a grandmaster competitive guy. When you tell him it's a serving spoon, not a scalpel, then it's kind of like, oh, yeah, bro, because if it's a 3.25 MOA half moon, who cares, bro? That's pretty small anyway.
That's pretty small, yeah.
And, I tell them, hey, look, man, go someplace. Plenty of red dots are out there. Different red dots have different levels of the small parallax. Curvature is different. Tint is different. I've had people that would get a 3.25 RMR that would have like this weird blob half moon thing going on. And then they go to a delta point 2 MOA, and it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
Right? Something to do with the tint, something to do with the glass, yada, yada. So if you're committed to it because your vision isn't all that great, there's plenty of options out there, especially now.
Yeah.
So
So basically what you're saying is it really comes down to the individual person and maybe a specific brand that works for them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Absolutely. And stop being so stringent on your expectations of the dot. You still have to do the work.
Is a part of it in the way that they're focusing on the dot rather than what's past the dot? Instead of
that could be a very good thing. For example, I had a guy at OTOA who said, guys, I said at this point, because I did 3 8-hour classes, 8 hours a day, right?
Yeah.
And I said, look, guys, at this point, you should be seeing more. When I do transitions at 5 yards on 2-inch circles, guys, you should be seeing everything. You should be seeing the way the recoil pattern goes and how to prep into the 2, and then you're looking at the 3, and you should be seeing more. And one guy said, well, I'm actually getting tunnel vision. I was like, yep, it's because you're focusing on the dot, not the target.
Right.
Stop focusing on the dot.
Right.
And once he did that, he was like, oh, I had a front sight focus on my dot. I go, yeah, that's not how this works.
Yeah, no. Yeah. It's using both of your eyes and yeah, the dot's there, but you're looking at the target. You're looking past it. Mm-hmm. And I think that's probably like when I first started back in the day when I first started getting into like especially with like EOTech sights, right, on the rifle. Using that whole window and looking at the target through the window, and then that circuit, that halo being there, instead of just focusing on the halo, right? I'm looking at the whole window and looking at the target past it, and that helped me be able to focus on what I'm shooting at and get more accurate shots. So yeah, I can see how that would definitely be an issue for some people, and it's probably hard to train yourself out of that a little bit unless you are really open-minded to it. Yeah,
so the analogy I use, right, is I'm old, right? I'm 48, right? So the analogy I use is like when I remember going to school.
Mm-hmm.
This was a Catholic school, that I went to like for the first 4 years of my schooling. If someone walked in that was left-handed, they were of the devil.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, left-handed people don't count. They're not real people.
The devil handed you.
Right.
Right. And when they came in, the first thing that the teacher or nun did was, oh, hey, that's awesome. You're left-handed. Cool. You're going to start doing everything right-handed, or you're going to feel the pain of the ruler. Right.
Sure.
So then the dude grows up a little bit. He's like, wait a minute. This is America. I'll do what I want to do.
Right.
He goes back to doing everything left-handed. And what's the first thing they say? This feels weird.
Yeah, exactly.
So like Aaron Cowan says, in his example, we've been killing people threat focused for, a gabillion years. And then all of a sudden we put these bumpy things on a pistol,
mm-hmm.
right? Really, I've only been pumping those bumpy things on it for like effectively 60, 70 years, right?
Yeah.
Sorry, guys, your 1911 from World War II, those aren't sights. Those are suggestions.
Suggestions.
Right?
Right, yeah.
But we've only been doing it for a little bit, and we go away from threat focus, and now we're back to threat focus, and it feels weird.
It does,
so
yeah.
It's that automaticity of focusing on the front sight instead of the target,
mm-hmm.
right? Where people who have good vision, who automatically go to that front sight, when they go threat focus and just try and superimpose the dot, it feels weird.
Right.
Even though it's the way we've been doing things for millions of years, because they have trained themselves to a high degree of success. Now we're telling them, oh no, bro, this is how it works. And they're like, this is weird. I can't do this. So
what has been was anything in the last, say you were last on in March, so has there been anything since then that's changed in red dot fundamentals or teaching methods?
That's a good question. In my teaching methods, has anything changed of significance where I've changed?
And I mean that question. We tend in firearms training, we tend to go through these evolutions, and sometimes new stuff comes up, and sometimes old stuff comes back, and it just. I wonder if it's a field where it's ever evolving, or if it's just like, this is the science of it, and this is how it works, and it's tried and true, and there's no room for improvement.
I think there's a couple of things, right? I think that in the beginning of the way that I teach, right, which is heavily, martial arts / jujitsu based, right,
Sure.
where it all comes from the body works the way the body works. The way the body works is never going to change, right?
Right.
My understanding of how the body works is ever evolving.
Right.
Right. I will tell you that, for example, if you're asking for like changes in my POI on stuff, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I teach shooting on the move, right?
Mm-hmm.
There's a couple ways I do it. I teach two ways. I teach the crouch, or what some people refer to as the groucho, or high keel, which like the keel of a boat as it goes out into the water. And the higher the boat gets, the faster it gets because there's less drag, yada, yada. That's
Sure.
just a fancy way of saying just stand upright, walk like you always do, and shoot.
Right.
One of the things that changed is my understanding of how the body works in the crouch position, dropping your hips back as if you were kind of going to be in a deadlift position
Mm-hmm.
to keep weight centered. Because undoubtedly, dude, most people even though the crouch looks hyper tactical, right? Most people like the high keel because it's just walking.
Right.
More accurate because they're used to that. But with my understanding of, working out more, doing the CrossFits and stuff like that, and talking to my friends like Drew Estelle of Bear Solutions,
Mm-hmm.
who is, he's a fifth group guy, owns Bear Solutions,
Yeah.
Gray Hive, yada, yada, yada. Great guy.
Yeah, I've used some of his. As a matter of fact, a class I have coming up next week. As a matter of fact, I'm using some of his targets, a couple of his drills actually.
Standards. It's yeah, and he's a great guy. He's a jiu-jitsu guy. He's a CrossFit guy. He's a fifth group guy. Blah 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 blah. And we were talking about movement after the little project we were working on. We got done, and he was like, "Dude, people don't like crouch because they don't do this." And he showed me this little putting the pelvic back, right?
Mm-hmm.
And that way you're much more steady because your chest is now over your core instead of over your knees, yada, yada, yada. So I teach that now, which the dot moves a lot less in movement when you're doing that.
Interesting.
That's kind of a long answer for a change in the POI. I apologize.
No. That's perfect actually.
But other than that, man, I'm kind of struggling with anything. I think that the way that I teach, not to say that I'm some trendsetter or blah, 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 but I'm teaching body mechanics, right? Because the dot is so rewarding when you get it, but it is so dependent on your proper body mechanics and efficiency that those problems keep on popping up.
I think though it's fair to say you have been a trendsetter. I don't see anybody else out there of note that's really that's referred to as much as you in the field though, as far as this specific topic of training.
Yeah, I appreciate that, man. I can't take all that, credit on there. There's really good dudes out there, man. I mean, you have Aaron Cowan that has done amazing things with the red dot and his white paper.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. Yeah, his white paper is amazing. As a matter of fact, I submitted that to my administrators and got them on board with the possibility because of that.
Exactly. You got guys like Bill Blowers, who doesn't teach red dot specific, but take his night vision course or his shield course, and he goes heavily into the dot.
I've been,
guys have been doing it for a long time, like Fisher and guys like that. So.
From my perspective as a consumer, when I think of red dot sight training, I think of your name, right? And that may just be me, but if you look at Aaron, who's done a lot with it, and You know, obviously, like you brought up Steve Fisher, and you know, Blowers even focuses on it. But I look at them as very multiverse when it comes to what they train.
Sure.
Right.
Sure.
Whereas you were more laser focused on this, and I think in some ways you're selling yourself short on that. And you probably should wear that title a bit, but not that your ego would allow it. You don't seem like an egotistical guy, but I mean, it's just kind of it's just your name is there at the forefront. But that being said,
I appreciate that. Well, the minute you say you're an expert, the internet is there to slap you down and tell you that you're not.
Yeah,
so,
well, you know,
it is what it is, man. I let my AARs speak for themselves.
And that's all you can do. That's all you can do.
It is all you can do.
Yeah,
it is all you can do. And to be honest with you, I don't care to do anything else. Whether or not people think I'm an SME or not, whatever, man. People come to my classes and they get better.
Yeah, yeah. You fit a very specific niche when it comes to that in the aspect of firearms training. And that was kind of going to go into my next question was, is there any expansion for you in the realm of how you train?
Yeah, so I think and how I train or how on the classes that I'm teaching.
Yeah, what you're teaching rather.
Yeah. So before recently I had 2 classes, right? I had the 1-day workshop and then I had the 2-day complete, right? I have since added by popular demand in AIWB course. For those people that don't know, that's obviously appendix inside the waistband.
Right.
And so I've taught one of those so far. It was a group of 8 guys here locally, and it was, I mean, again, I don't want to, break my arm by patting myself on the back, but it was an awesome class. I mean, guys who couldn't even hit an 8-inch circle at 7 yards in 2.5 seconds were breaking a second by the end of the class. Yeah. Right. And it's completely non-sight dependent. I don't care if you come with irons. I don't care if you come with a dot. I don't, I seriously don't care. And it's just about the nuances of AIWB. Right. And I love teaching it, probably because it's new to me right now. Mm-hmm. And, but it is, your draw is the beginning of everything. Right. Is that
your preference, appendix?
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just, I don't care what anybody says. It's just, the body works the way the body works. Right. As far as movement, as far as body engagement and all that stuff, it's faster. Yeah. It's just faster. I actually have a very interesting exercise that I do with people, and it's probably going to be hard to explain over the internets, but I'll try. Okay. So I tell people to get their hands and put them like if they were going to do an appendix draw. Right. And I press or poke on their elbow, and I tell people not to let me move it. Mm-hmm. So at that point, and I can't move them. Right. Here's a great thing. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. So Logan Pranther, right? He's a Oklahoma City SWAT cop. Okay. So I'm a big dude. I'm 6'2", 285. Right. He's a big dude. And when I say you're a big dude, you're a big dude, right? Yeah. He's about my height, but does jujitsu, Olympic lifter. He's about my weight, but I'm a little fluffy. He's solid. Right. Solid, right? He looks like that dude in that one meme, that one riot cop who's like,
oh yeah, that giant guy.
Exactly.
Yeah.
He's like him, right? Anyway, so I did that with him, right? I'm like, so boom, can't move him, right? When he's right in the middle near an appendix position. Now go to a strong side position as if you were going to grab your pistol, but just stay there. And then I put my finger on his elbow, mm-hmm. and I move his 280-pound ass like he was nothing. Wow. So it is, again, I get it. It's your SOP. It's what your department wants you to do, yada, yada, yada. But speed and strength are the same thing on 2 different planes, like horsepower and torque.
Well, I feel like more so than maybe SOP is just what you're used to. Because like I've never tried and never tried appendix at all. I've always carried from my hip, always. Mm-hmm. It's because what I'm used mm-hmm. to. And I don't know. It's very foreign to me, so I haven't tried it. Right.
Sure.
But I bet if I tried it and I was more efficient, I would probably like it.
Yeah, it's a mechanical advantage.
Right.
There's less movement to it. You are stronger. There's a thing in martial arts, especially jiu-jitsu, saying if you control the inside, whoever controls the inside wins the fight. Right?
Makes
Think
sense.
of a way a boxer has his hands. They're tight, elbows into the ribs, right?
Right.
As opposed to like a surrender position where you're completely disengaged. Think of when you're going for your pistol in an appendix position. You're still compact and engaged. When you separate to go to strong side, if you look at your shoulders and your chest and everything, you're disengaged. Not that it's wrong. It's just slightly less efficient.
Right.
Right? Because you're disengaged. It is what it is, you know?
Well, that's interesting because, like, you say that, and I've recommended to other officers who on duty with their duty rig, most officers, the holster's right there on the crest of the hip. It's right there on that point on the side. And when you've got, depending on the type of gear that you carry normally, as far as like how you wear your vest, whether that be under the shirt, which is a tighter fit, and it's more restrictive, or you have your vest on the outside, if you're having to strain when you're pulling back to draw, if you're having to strain your shoulder back far enough to where it's uncomfortable in order to get the pistol out, it's a problem. And if you move, I always recommend you slide the holster a little bit forward on the hip towards the front part of the hip to where it's still running perpendicular down your leg, but it's almost to the side towards the front a little bit, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, it makes perfect sense. I'll tell you why it makes sense. My friend Gabe Rivera, who's Orange County, California SWAT, he was at my class in OTOA, and he has he set up his ALS to where it was at, for those of the audience, if I'm talking 12 o'clock, I'm talking straight over your middle, right on your belly button.
Yes.
His holster was a reverse cant, right?
Yes.
At about 230.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep.
And he was blazing like I think 0.85 draws on steel at 10 yards.
Yeah, and that's about how I carry mine.
Oh, okay.
That's
cool.
almost exactly how I carry mine. So it makes such a difference on access to the weapon and the draw.
100%.
Yeah, it's huge. And I see cops. I see them on the range all the time. They're literally pulling that, whatever handed they are, they're pulling that shoulder back, and then they're drawing, but their gun's either canted forward or it's canted straight up and down. Most of them are straight up. Most of them are straight up. Yeah, and they're doing that, and they're pulling themselves back, and it's causing more strain. But when they get the gun out, and they're going to pull it up and push out, it's taking them longer to do that, and it seems like there's more effort into it.
Yep.
So it makes sense to me that the appendix right there in front of you would be that much faster to just grab and draw and push straight out.
Well, just think of all the things you do in your daily life that are right there.
Right.
Right. Buttoning your pants, zipping up your fly, using, going to the john, whatever.
Sure.
You do so many things here. What do you do at 3 o'clock other than grab your pistol?
Nothing. Unless I got an itch or something. I mean, that's
exactly
like everything. Like my belt. My
argument for 4 o'clock by going to get your wallet. But how many times do you do that in a day? You know what I mean? As opposed to what's right in front of you.
Yeah, and what's funny is I've gotten so used to carrying stuff, in my job. I've gotten so used to carrying stuff up front, like on my belt, right? Where most of the back part of my belt is unoccupied, except for some belt keepers. But most everything else is going to be directly to the sides of the 3 and 9 and forward, right? And I've gotten so used to that. That's where I carry my wallet. Like I carry it in a cargo pocket on my leg. I don't ever carry it in my back pocket, and because it's just ease of access, and I've just gotten so used to that. It's like I carry my tourniquet up front. I carry a pair of handcuffs up front. I carry my magazines up front. I don't put really anything in the back. The only thing I have slightly towards the back is I have an AR mag that's probably which if you're looking at the clock you gave, would be about the 8:30 position on my belt.
Okay.
And that's it. Everything else is up front. So yeah, it makes absolute sense why that would be faster for you.
Yep.
It's just ease of access. It just
it's ease of access. It's where your body is not actively engaged, but passively engaged at all times, right? So that's the other thing that I've been really stressing in class, at least for core competencies, is structure over strength, right?
Yeah.
And appendix is just structure, because your body is passively engaged, whereas the more you start to open it up, the more disengaged it becomes.
Right. Now, when you're looking at a duty rig, do you see any advantages or disadvantages to officers that are able to in wearing like a drop leg holster?
Well, there's extremes of drop legs, right? I don't have any problem with drop leg holsters as long as they can get to it efficiently, right? Some dudes, I've seen are basically wearing their holster on the side of their quad, right? And
sure.
I get it. It's your secondary, right? When you're in that type of position. But if it's your primary and you've got what John Chappie Chapman calls the Saturday Night Fever dance, and you try, shift over to get your pistol, that is wholly inefficient,
sure,
regardless of how cool it may actually look.
Right.
I don't do drop legs. I can't really talk about them. What I do like about drop legs is that it holds that holster in place. So as you grab quickly, the holster is not going to move. From what I have seen, though, especially when you're talking like about Safariland kit, the extended medium drop attachment to a ALS, SLS type of holster has the same type of rigidity, but with a much easier access, natural access to the pistol.
I will tell you that's 100% true from my experience. So my duty rig doesn't allow, and my department policy doesn't allow for a drop leg, but when I take classes or I'm on the range, I usually wear my drop leg. But it's that exact same deal. It's that it's really not much further down from where my gun normally sits on my duty belt. And I have that high thigh strap on there. But where it sits, it drops just enough where like I feel like I have quicker access to the gun. It feels like more of a natural reach, I guess, maybe.
Yeah. Yep. And what I would actually love to see is, however Gabe Rivera rigged his thing, is if I never see anybody with an FBI can't again, it will be too soon.
Yeah, those are really, when you come to mechanics, those are silly.
Well, just think how your wrist moves, right?
Right, yeah, exactly.
Right? It doesn't go, if I'm holding my wrist at, from 12 to 6, it doesn't move naturally from 10 to 5. On the other hand, it moves like a boss from 2 to 7.
Right, exactly, yeah.
Or 3 to 8. And, again, at the risk of labeling myself as a competitive shooter again, when you look at dudes that have to shoot from from a strong side position because their division's that way, everybody is the reverse can't.
Yes.
With their holster from like a 2 to 7 can't, because that's the way the wrist goes.
Yeah, you're not having to do T-Rex arms.
Exactly.
To get to that gun.
And it is amazing how when you start moving the holster with the muzzle forward just a little bit, how much it minimizes shoulder movement.
Yeah, and it doesn't take that much. It's not that much of a cant, really, if you look at it.
And all it would take is a couple extra holes from Safariland. Yeah. And people would be so much faster.
Well, and that comes down to people, being innovative and coming up with good ideas and petitioning companies to change when it comes to the manufacturing of that stuff. But,
yep, 100%. 100%.
So looking forward, you've got Well, let's step back a little bit. What agencies have you gotten to pick up here recently?
So agencies that I have trained, or have taught, I don't want to say trained, but have taught.
Sure.
So, like, are you talking about like agencies who have paid me directly, or are you talking about individuals that have been in my class that have come from certain agencies?
Agencies themselves that have paid you directly.
Agencies.
Yeah.
Okay. So I guess I guess OTOA in and of itself, right, is an agency because they represent Ohio.
Sure.
But it's probably the first one that I did was the Pentagon ERT team.
Mm-hmm.
Sergeant Quinn, Corporal Gumbert, and them. Corey is a friend of a friend, and he reached out to me because he's, obviously he's local to me here in in the DC area, and went out there. I've done 2 classes for them for their instructor cadre. So there's that. Who else? NYPD could not, because they have a new commander, their instructor cadre for their academy. They could not bring me up, but 5 of them came down. Who else has paid me directly? Janesville, Wisconsin PD, right? Again, that was an open enrollment class, but it was at their range, and they paid for a couple of officers to come in. And who else? In my last class in Oklahoma, it was direct from the Oklahoma Bureau of Narcotics. Sent 4 guys.
Wow.
That was cool because those dudes all went from AIWB because that's how they roll.
Yeah.
And I guess I can say this because it's all good. I got it. But so there is I probably shouldn't say this, but anyway, November 2nd,
mm-hmm.
right? November 2nd, Quantico, an elite FBI team
mm-hmm.
is in for a 1-day workshop for a contract class. So
that's a big deal.
It is, man. It is, and I'm very humbled to do it, especially since it's in my neck of the woods.
Mm-hmm.
This particular team is held in very high regards, and they are seriously contemplating about deploying it to all of their agents. So yeah, it is very humbling, and I hope I don't fuck it up.
I'm sure you won't.
Yeah.
I'm sure you won't. But that goes back to, being a pioneer in that niche of the industry. I mean, that's a big deal, and it's got to be a source of pride. I know you say it's humbling, but it's also got to be a huge source of pride when you have organizations, law enforcement organizations, on different levels, on different levels, coming to you and being like, "Hey, we want to know what you know."
Yes, it is.
It's got to make you feel good a little bit.
So here's how I say that. I don't want it to be like
it's okay. You can
come off it's a false sense of. I'm a very competitive individual.
Right.
Right. And if I don't temper myself, right?
Yeah.
That's where I start talking shit and everything. And I can't, and I don't want to do that, right?
Sometimes though, there's nothing wrong with that. Sometimes
it is. But I want to be the last guy saying, yeah, me, because it's, it's really not. These guys could have went to a lot of other different sources, and for whatever reason they picked me, and I am going to try and say it's because I differentiate my package, and that I'm just going to show you core competencies, and with the DOT I'll show you what I learned. Take what you want. It's a way, not the way. And I think the minute I start to believe my own hype, that will start to dissipate.
Yeah,
if that makes sense.
Well, I mean,
Lord knows we know instructors that believe their own hype.
Yes, absolutely. I've met several of them. But I think it just goes to show the work ethic, and it shows the time and dedication you've put into the subject, and that's a big deal. That's something to note. And even if nothing else, on a personal level, that's something that's an accomplishment. It's a big deal.
And I appreciate that. I really do appreciate that. I'm not going to disagree with you, and I'm just trying to let my my students talk for itself. And cool certificates. You see that thing for the Pentagon ERT, man?
Yes.
Dude.
It's pretty cool.
Dude, I told you, dude. If I didn't get a little verklempt when I got that from Sergeant Quinn, I'd be a liar, man.
Yeah.
I even threw my nickname on there, man.
Yeah,
come on,
which is cool. which is cool. Switching gears a little bit. How's you still pretty active in jiu-jitsu? Yes.
So that is, in all honesty, that has tapered a little bit.
Has it?
Right. Yeah, it has, because not only am I teaching on the road, but I'm teaching privates, right?
Yeah.
Where people can't make it to a class, or their schedules are limited. I am probably teaching about 4 or 5 hour privates a month.
Wow.
A 5-hour private with me is probably akin to my 2-day class. It has the same cost. You're probably getting a lot more if you spend 4 to 5 hours with me.
Mm-hmm.
So that's been a thing, so no, my rolling has not been as much as I want, but the core of it, where, hashtag everything is jujitsu, is still alive. The problem is with my knees, again, I'll reiterate, my right knee is bad. My left knee is a complete replacement.
Right.
It is hard to roll 3-4 times a week, then go teach on the weekend, or go shoot a match on the weekend, or go take a class on the weekend, So that has tapered off. I have replaced that with early morning CrossFit, which I am enjoying. You want to talk about CrossFit, man?
Yeah, sure. People to CrossFit. I figured that was coming. I was about to say, about to change your name to Kip and talk about CrossFit all the time.
Yeah, I am not going to put the listening audience through all that, but I will tell you that we, the wife and I, we have found an amazing, box, Old Glory Gym. The owner, Jason Sturm, is a 10th Mountain guy who lost his leg in a training accident.
Mm.
So homie is all about the modifications.
Sure.
Right. And that's what turned us on to it. And then our coach, Allison Phillips Cooper, she's this small little Scottish fire plug, man. And I will tell you, man, I've had dudes that were awesome motivational coaches, and I've had dudes that were just POSs.
Mm-hmm.
She ranks in the top 5 coaches in my entire life.
Really?
Yeah, dude. She got my squat below 90 degrees, man.
And that's with your knees.
98.
And that's with your knees.
That's with my knees, dude.
Yeah.
That's with my knees.
That's incredible.
Man. Oh yeah, dude. So, and I'm enjoying it, man. It's a good pace, dude. The way they do it, man. Because they're like when I walk in, they will already have. So there's 2 things. There's an RX, which is the prescription workout,
right?
And then you have the scale, right? Which is if you can't do certain things, you do less weight or less reps or modify it. You sign up for a class, you walk in, and they've already got my modifications in mind for me.
Wow.
Right? Yeah. So it's good enough to where, it's good enough for me as a competitive guy that I can push myself because I see how other people are doing.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not required to beat them. You know
sure.
what I mean?
Yeah.
And you got the time thing, and unlike popular belief, the coaches there will not let you do things wrong. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to round out the edges as fatigue sets in,
right?
But anything that could hurt you, they will stop you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell you to take a breather and then start again. So you're just not trying to make time at the risk of hurting yourself. And there's legit dudes there, man. Again, being Metro DC, I train with Secret Service guys, FBI SWAT guys.
I can imagine the crowd is pretty diverse.
Oh yeah, absolutely, dude. And I got to tell you, man, you walk in, man, and you see chicks just fucking killing it.
Yeah.
Dude, that's motivating, man.
Of course.
You see chicks doing the dudes RX and making time. It's like, what do you do? It's like, I'm a mother of 3. I'm like, Jesus Christ, let's get after this.
So when it comes to your knees, I mean, you're on the range a lot, you're on your feet a lot.
Yep.
Have you noticed a wear and tear to that area of your body because of that?
So standing on the range, 8-9 hours a day
has
got me really into shoes.
Yeah, that kicks my ass. I'm not gonna lie.
So I will tell you, get a shoe that has a 4 millimeter drop or less.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Right? Yeah, because everybody, don't get me wrong, dude, if you're young and you can look baller in your Solomons or whatever,
right,
knock yourself out, bro, because those things got traction all day long.
Yeah.
Right. But when you get a little, older and the knees start to go, do yourself a favor, get rid of that 10 millimeter drop, right?
Yeah. And
find something with a flatter 4 or less, right?
Right.
Again, not to make a plug, but you guys all know that I'm sponsored by Victos.
Yes, I was going to bring that up.
Yeah, their PXTF core shoes are a 4 millimeter drop, dude. These things, man. Imagine bat slippers you could teach class, run classes, do matches, and deadlift in, and they feel like bat slippers, dude. They are unreal.
Well, I wear their Johnny Combat boots. I wear
those working out for you, man.
Yeah. I wear those at work for duty.
Okay.
And they're awesome.
How's the zipper's all right for you?
That's the only issue I've had with the boot is the zipper. So
I'll hit you up. The new ones are out, dude.
Okay. Yeah. I bought them.
The new ones are out. Well, talk off.
Yeah. But the boot.
I'll get you a replacement.
Oh, sweet. As far as the boot itself goes, as far as the comfort goes and the way it fits, and where you have bad knees, I have really bad back, and so it helps. It really does. Like I feel they're stable, they're comfortable, they're lightweight, and they almost kind of remind me of like a souped up set of Chuck Taylors. To be honest with you, I mean they're just they're awesome. I mean, they're truly a great boot for sure.
And I think they're an 8.5 millimeter drop. So when I was out in Oklahoma, it had rained the day before, and they got that red clay thing out there.
Yeah.
And I was gonna put my other shoes through it, so I threw those on. I didn't put the zipper up. I just kind of folded off the sides and stuff like that because I didn't need that.
Mm-hmm.
And I taught the whole first day in those things. I was like, my knees are not barking. This is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Getting back to where we were before, the thing I like about Victos and Justin Fox, the owner, is they're like, yep, got it. Here's the new design. If you want a replacement, let me know. Right?
Yeah.
So we'll talk offline, dude. I'll get you a hookup if you need it. They're great boots, man. They're great boots.
Yeah.
So.
No, they really are. They're a good product. So how did that come about? I mean, is it just connections in the industry that were already picked up by Victos, or?
Yeah. So yes, and yes.
Yeah.
The Lord works in mysterious ways when you do good things, right? I guess.
Sure.
What the hell I'm trying to.
Yeah.
So the way that worked out is Shooter Symposium. I keep on wanting to say last year, but it was actually this past April, right?
Right. Yeah.
I met Dan Brokos at SHOT Show. We did a couple of semi, off the cuff promotional stuff, when I first met him at SHOT. Then saw him again at Shooter Symposium where we were all teaching. He and I hit it off, and he asked me what, my impressions were of Victos. And I go, stuff looks pretty cool. You look good in it, dude. Blowers likes the stuff. He's like, well, you want to try something out? I go, well, that's zero. I'll send it to you. I'm like, okay. So he sends it to me. Dug the jacket, it was what it was.
Yeah.
Right? Then Dan had reached out to me about something else, and he's like, hey, dude, just so you know, I'm talking to the dudes at Victos about you. I'm like, oh, well, I appreciate that, Dan. You don't have to do that. He's like, no. You're the fucking Jedi, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
I'm like, oh. you know, when Dan Brokos gives you a compliment, you take it and shut your mouth.
Sure. Yeah, he's a legit guy.
And so that had happened. He's like, we're working on it, man. And then I'm trying not to make the story too long,
no,
but
fine.
one of the guys was in my classes at Shooter Symposium, right? And he was the father of one of Drew Estelle's teammates, who unfortunately his son lost his life in 2016 in Afghanistan. And Drew had written me and said, hey, you know, we don't really know each other, but you trained my buddy's father, and he said he had a great time. He said you were an amazing teacher, and all he did was talk about you for basically an hour and a half and a 2 hour, an hour and a half and a 2 hour dinner. And I just want to let you know how much that means to me. If there's anything I can ever do for you, please let me know.
Yeah.
You know, and then you do, and that hit me right in the feels. From then, Drew and I, you know, became very friendly. And he's sponsored by Victos as well, right? He's one of actually the founding team members of Victos out there. And he and I talked a little bit about it. I guess he reached out, and they're like, yeah, we're going to be, you know, reevaluating people, yada, yada. I'm like, cool. So I had already had the Janesville PD class on the schedule. My buddy Jim Holford came to my Chicago class this past January and immediately booked me out on their range. And unbeknownst to me, Janesville PD is where Victos is located.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So the owner, Justin Fox, came to my class, right? And if people are going, where have I heard that name? Where have I heard that name? I want to just clarify something about Victos, right? About being a new company. Yes, they've only been in business for about a year, but Justin Fox is the owner of Victos. He is also the owner of Fox Racing, Icon Racing, and Parts Limited. So if you are into any sort of racing suspension,
you know the stuff.
Mountain biking, so they've been making rugged apparel since 1974.
Right.
They are red-blooded, freedom-loving Americans who wanted to do this, and Dan had a lot to do with the development in their lines. So just a little bit of history in that. Anyway, he came out to my class. He brought me a whole bunch of swag. Came out to my class, worked his ass off. Right.
Good for him.
We became friends, and he's like, "Hey, dude, would you consider being part of the team?"
Yeah.
And I'm like, let me see here. So my buddies are Dan Brokos, Jared Reston, Bill Blowers, and Drew Estelle. Yeah, man, good to go.
Right, yeah. That's good company.
Good to go. And they've been amazing, man. The way they have their whole thing set up, their incentive program, the responsiveness. You know, the thing I love about Justin is, for example, I had a question on a Saturday. I just throw him a quick text. Think I'd get back on Monday. He's like, hey, man, I'm at a friend's wedding. Sorry I couldn't answer your call. I'll get back to you shortly. I'm like, you take the weekend, brother.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
And, it's just an awesome response to have that reciprocal relationship. You know what I mean?
Oh, sure.
So,
yeah, absolutely. And it's an incredible company. It really is. And despite the lineage of the company, the fact that in the last year, I mean, it's everywhere, you know, and especially in our community, it's all over the place. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, man, it's very cool, and I dig their line. You know, I mean, it says enough about the lifestyle without being, I'd rather be judged by 12 than carried by 6 bullshit you see everywhere.
Yeah, and that's the one thing I really like about them is that their stuff is not. I guess it's tactical, but it's not, right? And you can wear it every day, and not look like some tactical guy that's always running around trying to wear the latest stuff. So I like that. I like that. I like that it's functional and it's great. It's good stuff. And not to turn this into a 15-minute long Victos commercial, but it's I can't say enough about the company, and they do give a law enforcement discount, which is for those cops out there that are interested in them. You send your credentials in, they send you a discount code, and it's 20% off. And I took advantage of that, and it was great.
Yep.
I paid less for the boots than I would normally pay for if I was going to some, super well-known brand. So, and I've gotten, if not better use out of them, just as good a use. So it's good stuff.
Yep. And they stand behind their products, man. If you got problems with it, you just call customer service and they will get you squared away. The zipper issue, it's one of those things is like, oh, this thing failed on me on day one. Other people are like, dude, I've had this thing forever and a day, no problems, right? Doesn't matter. You call customer service, they will square you away.
Yeah, and that's the only. It's just one boot too. It's funny. It's just one boot, and the zipper just sometimes comes down on its own. Mm-hmm. But that's the only issue I've had with it. But obviously, they fixed the issue, so which good companies do and acknowledge, and that's cool.
Yep.
Well, what you got coming up? Where are you going to be?
Let's see. So as far as classes go, we got Holland, Michigan coming up this weekend. Actually, I got my schedule right here. We got Holland, Michigan coming up this weekend. Next weekend, we have my first hybrid class. Day 1 is AIWB, and then day 2 is Red Dot Fundamentals. That will be in McHenry, Illinois, which is Chicagoland. I'll be out there with my my buddy Jim Dexter of Tactically Sound, who also, by the way, has done amazing things on preaching, the gospel of the Red Dot. Yeah. He actually got his Red Dot course approved by the state of Illinois for LE as continuing education for use of force credits.
Wow.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, dude. He's an awesome guy. If you guys have a chance to train with him, train with him. Then the following weekend, I'm out back in Fort Worth area in Crescent at the Triple C range. Got a couple private lessons, and we already talked about the awesome November 2nd.
Yes.
After that, I'm in Northern Atlanta for a 2-day class. December, I'm in Sylmar, California. I'll tell you what, man, the non-free states, they love to train.
I'm sure they do.
They love to train, man. That class is 3/4 full already.
Wow.
Out in December. So, and then I'm getting booked up. I'm through April next year. Can add a couple of things either locally or, if the right host comes along. Hey, before we break, can we talk about my standards, man?
Oh, absolutely.
So a lot of people have been asking me questions about my black belt patch standards, right?
Okay.
And where I've kind of come up with that. Part of it is people have been asking me for standards, right? People want things to shoot for. They want to, shoot competitively against themselves and see what they can do, right? So I kind of want to explain that. If they go to my website, modernsamuraiproject.com, they can go on there to the standards link. And if they do that, I don't want to misspeak here, so I'm actually going to do the same. It is based on Jujitsu belts, right? To be clear, I am not a Jujitsu black belt. I'm a 3-stripe purple belt, which is almost exactly just past halfway.
Yeah.
But people wanted some things, right? So where the black belt patch came from is because the purple belt patch doesn't sound too awesome and nobody would care. Right. So after the behest of a lot of people and a lot of input, again, from my buddy Jim Dexter, sat down, kind of made these up, and they came up with blue, purple, and brown belt patches.
Cool.
Not patches, but standards. So
yeah.
The only patch is a black belt patch, right? Which is my patch design with a black belt overlay on it.
Gotcha.
Right? So I want to explain kind of what those are, right? So the 3 and 2 drill, 3 yards, IPSC target, 3 rounds, center mass, 2 rounds. You need to do that in 2 seconds or less. All right. And this is from a draw, from concealment preferably, if you want to know what it looks like as an ALS or an ALS SLS combo, go to the website and check it out.
Gotcha.
The next one is, then we go to 7 yards. It's a one shot, 7 yards, again, to an IPSC alpha center mass, 1 second or less. Then a build drill, which is from a draw, 6 rounds, 7 yards, 6 shots, 2 seconds or less. And then finally, we go out to 25 yards, and it's 1 shot, center mass alpha in 1.5 seconds or less.
Ooh.
Right? Yes, it's all spicy, but it's all very doable. Right? It's all very doable.
Tough though.
And, go ahead.
That says tough though.
Oh yeah, dude. Ain't meant to be a walk in the park.
Yeah.
Right.
You got to earn it.
The good thing about this is, like, people are like, well, what can I do to prepare? I'm like, well, try and do it. Try and figure it out. Watch yourself, blah, blah, blah. But just so you know, when you come to my class, the class is kind of structured around these standards.
Right.
And it's not the goal of winning the black belt patch. It's the goal of understanding how you learn what I'm teaching in order to get to these times.
Gotcha.
Right? It's always frustrated me when you go to a dude's class and he teaches you all this stuff and then he does the standard and it has nothing to do with what he taught you during the class. Right?
Yeah.
So it's like, so should I have practiced the standard before I got to your class? So this is just basically me putting a feather in my cap, not based on what you taught me.
Right.
Does that make sense?
No, absolutely.
And, you know, if you look at the videos that I have, because all people really care about is the one-shot drill, right? The one-shot at 7 or the build drill. And if you look at the videos, like, I'm teaching dudes that whether they are special operations or patrol cops or holster makers or Johnny, shoemaker.
Right.
You give me an hour, I'll get you under 2 seconds on a build drill from concealment. Right?
Which is awesome. Which
is
awesome, yeah.
And that's the kind of thing I'm trying to do. As far as the progression goes, you need to shoot them in order, right?
Right.
There are physical and psychological loads that I am trying to put on you where the progression matters, right? For example, the 3 and 2 drill is going from gross to a refined sight picture and being able to modulate between the two.
Okay.
When you leave off on the 2 to the head, you've modulated to have a refined sight picture. Now we're going to the one-shot drill where you need to have some giddy up. But, man, if you're not aiming and you're just leaving it to the gods, it's not going to happen.
No.
Right? And then immediately you go to the build drill where everything has to come together. Your draw, your grip, your stance, your alignment, your indexes, another thing which I call proper binding, and your trigger press. All that needs to come into play in order to the build drill. So now you have come to the, if you get to that point, you have come to the pinnacle of, Instagram famousness, right?
Right.
And you've done this, build drill from concealment in 2 seconds or less. Well, now we're going to take it back to 25 yards, right? And we're going over 3 times what you just burned it down on. And all you got to do is give me 1 shot in the alpha at 1.5.
Right.
So you're going back to the modulation, but you also can't be lazy, right? Because if you got your 1 second draw needs a little bit more care at a certain point to get it in that IPSC alpha at 25 yards. So my whole thing is sans movement with any pistol. This stuff, you kind of put it all together. I guess sans movement, sans reloads. Right?
Sure. Yeah.
But you get this stuff squared away, at least from a concealment basis. I think it encompasses as much in a standard as possible for what I consider to be my focus on things,
Sure.
Without throwing in like a 25-yard B8, which would make the standard take 15 minutes, right? And you'd never get through it all.
Right.
We'll leave the B8s to Chuck Pressburg and and Bill Blowers.
Yeah. So
yeah,
what's
I want to talk about that. So
no,
yeah,
absolutely.
cool.
What's harder to earn, the black belt patch or the tiger patch?
You know what? I don't know, bro, and that's what I love.
Yeah.
Is Bill, you don't know what the standards are.
Yeah.
Right. So far, 0 and 0 have been given out.
No, that's true.
Right.
Yeah.
So the thing I respect about Bill is that, hey, dude, it is what it is.
Right.
Right. And he, you know, I mean, the clue is watch his videos. That's what his standards are.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The issue is you don't know which ones he's going to pick.
Yeah.
Yeah, and not to, you know, violate the circle of trust, but, you know, when he goes, because he's coming to my class when I come out to Washington next year, March, they'll be in Burlington, and he goes to me, he's like, hey, dude, I'll just tell you what my standards are. I'm like, oh, goddamn, you know you're not. Because when I come to one of your classes, I don't want anybody saying, he already knew what they were, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to go in there cold like everybody else so that when glory is earned, glory will be had. So.
Absolutely. So if somebody wants to book one of your classes or find out more about you, where do they go?
Yeah, a couple places. So modernsamuraiproject.com. The class schedule's on there. If you're a student, if you go to modern_project, blah, 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 just put in Modern Samurai Project Shopify. Yes, party people, I will be changing soon. This takes time.
It does.
So far, they've left me alone.
Yeah.
Because I'm just training. They were trying to fish on something. I was asking them a question. And they go, so what do you do with your business? I'm like, I consult police agencies. They're like, oh.
Oof, yeah, oof.
So they left me alone, but
yeah,
we got to stand with the rest of our, you know, freedom-loving Americans, and I'll be making a change soon. But go there, you'll see all the classes. You can sign up for classes there. If you're a host, here's what I need. You're going to help me fill 10 paying spots. The host gets a spot free. I need a range with 10 targets. If you got some steel, cool. If you don't, we'll work around it. You figure out the medical brief with, you know, the facilities nearby. Mm-hmm. You give me the address. You tell me where what the range fee is. I post that up and just make sure you're communicative, and I will pretty much go anywhere.
That's cool.
Yep. So there's that. That's pretty much about it. I also do privates, like I said before. I actually do virtual lessons.
Interesting.
Yep, for $50 an hour, you got a computer with a camera. Most people just want to learn how to do, you know, get faster with their draws in dry fire. Anything you can do in dry fire, I can help you out with. Mm-hmm. And people have had great success with that.
That's great.
So, yep.
That's great. Well, Jedi, thank you so much for coming back, man.
No, I appreciate it, man. I dig the work that you guys are doing.
We're trying, man. It's we're trying to make it better, bigger, and reach more people. So,
no, you guys are doing good stuff, man. The stuff with Bill was awesome. The interview with Jared was awesome.
Yeah, and by the way, I want to say thank you for the input you gave with Jared. That was nice. I appreciate that.
We were sitting there drinking and having wings, dude. When he asked me about you guys,
he was probably like, "Who the fuck is Street Warrior Radio?"
Yeah, but I got to tell you, know what my favorite episode is, man?
What?
The beta male.
Did you enjoy that one?
Oh, dude, where the hell was I driving to, man? Where was I going to? I'm gonna say I was driving to Tennessee.
Yeah.
To hang out with Drew Estelle. And I was listening to that thing, dude, and I was laughing my ass off.
Oh yeah, that one. We've got some interesting reactions to that one.
Dude, that was awesome, man.
Yeah.
This is the truth.
Yeah, I mean, I've you know, you just get tired of certain things, and sometimes you got to voice it right. But
what you need to do is have an episode on bullying.
That's actually
have me on there as well.
You say that you bring that up, but that's actually a topic we have planned coming up, dude. So if you want to come on for that,
hell yeah, dude. Because I will tell you, man. Don't get me wrong, dude. You know, bullies, fuck you. But I will tell you what, bullies made me the man I am today.
Sure. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's actually one of our upcoming episodes. So I'll get with you offline about that.
Cool. Sounds like a plan, brother.
Sweet. All right, brother. I appreciate you being here.
All right, guys. Be good.
Thanks. And I want to give a special thank you to Scott Jedi Jedlinski for coming back to the show. He's just such a massive amount of knowledge, and especially when it comes to shooting fundamentals and the whole red dot system. If that's something that you as a cop or a private citizen or military are interested in learning more about, you can go to modernsamuraiproject.com and get hooked up with him. He's also on all the social medias, so check him out. He's got a great thing going, and red dot sights on pistols, they're the way of the future. It's what's going to happen. So get in now. With that, if you want to follow the podcast, you can follow us on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, Tumblr. All search Street Warrior Radio. It'll pop up. If you want to follow me directly, you can follow me at JC_SWR on Instagram. And if you want to check out our episodes, you can find us on iTunes, GooglePlay, Spotify, Stitcher, TuneIn, iHeartRadio, and most other podcasting platforms. We also have audio episodes on YouTube. Getting ready to transition over to a video format for YouTube, and when we do that, when we record these episodes, they will be broadcast live on YouTube, so you can check that out. We will be doing a few episodes where we're doing either Facebook Live or Instagram Live. It just depends. We'll let you know when those happen. And yeah, if you want to reach us directly, you can contact us at info@streetwarriorradio.com, or you can go to streetwarriorradio.com/contact and fill out the contact form there, which is actually how most people get in contact with us. Or you can contact me directly at jc@streetwarriorradio.com or Big Bo at Bigbo, BIGBO, @streetwarriorradio.com. And with that, I want to thank all the men and women of our armed forces who tirelessly go out there every day and potentially sacrifice everything for our freedom and for our way of life. And to our first responders, our police, fire, paramedics, who do the same thing here on the home front. Remember your oath, do the right thing, and everything will work out. And to the families of our military and first responders, thank you for the sacrifices that you make, the support you give. It is noted. We appreciate you. To our fans, supporters, everyone else that's out there, thank you for what you do. You make the service worth it. You make the sacrifice worth it. And with that, Street Warrior Radio is out of service.